Hello again, everybody. Another day, another video from the Chiat Day binder. Yes, but today we are going to talk about Chiat Day and Nike. Oh, Nike, that's Wyden and Kennedy. Yes, you're right. But there was a little brief period when it was Wyden and Kennedy and Chiat Day. And how did that happen? And how did it end? And what can we learn from it? Let's talk about Nike. Oh, by the way, this is a very interesting book and very smelly. If you like the history of Nike's shoes and marketing and product and design and whatnot, it's pretty interesting and heavy and smelly and good. But Nike and Chiat Day, how did it begin? Well, the Olympics in Los Angeles, 1984. Nike traditionally is very cognizant of the location of its suppliers. Now, originally, John Brown and Partners, when they worked with the founders of Nike, and then Wyden and Kennedy became an account. But what happened is they were thinking about what was their presence going to be at the 1984 Olympics in Los Angeles. In 1983, when they were putting this together, there was really one agency in Los Angeles, Chiat fucking Day. And so they contacted them. They said, would you give us a pitch or something? Like, what would you do for the Olympics? And Chiat Day being Chiat Day in 1983. What did they do? They had the idea because art, commerce, culture, and the city and the physical city where people could be traveling around from hotels, going to events, and media, right? And the athletes and everything that happens in a city when the Olympics happen. Someone there had an idea, let's paint buildings. Yeah, pretty much you can count on it. Chiat Day invented doing billboards painted on buildings. Maybe not the first, but no one did it like this. So what they did to sort of solidify when the business confirmed that they should be the ones to help them with the Olympics, every Nike employee got a gift-wrapped brick with a number. And they assembled it, and they built a brick wall with an athlete painted on it with a Nike swoosh to say, this is the idea. Yeah, that's the part of the business I absolutely love, when you just want to send something to someone to blow them away. And someday I may take you through a tour of some of the ones I've done and do just that. So what happened was they really, in Los Angeles, the kind of different vibe of running and jogging that had been happening at that point, or jogging as we know, was not the same as what you had in the Pacific Northwest. Running in the pine trees and the wet and the rain versus everything's happy and sunny and fashion, in LA. So Chiat Day obviously brought a fashion-forward image to Nike that was beautiful and fantastic. And this is where a good writer knows when not to write. These ads, look at that. Just with Nike. It's done like a label over there, right? And that one. This one here. Guy shaving in the mirror after a workout. Famous people like Carl Lewis stretching on a bench. And you may think, Paul, those are pretty dull, pretty ordinary. Really? Someone recovering after whatever they've done. Big shadow on the wall, right? Make of that what you will. The thing is, the ads that they did at that time for Nike were famous because they had things like American so-called football, the quarterbacking, passing a ball on the other side of the highway is someone catching it. Literally, media, creative media, Chiat Day broke the mold for how creative was an agency and not a department, because Media people are required to be creative. The account people are required to be creative and support the creative. They got the idea to buy billboards in Los Angeles and other cities right across the highway, either side. Something would be happening on this side and then show up on the other. Now today, you would do that with video and all that, but the point is back then, it was unheard of. And there was no big message, no type saying, hey, this. It was simply athleticism. And you as the viewer were involved in it. Brilliant, simple. And of course, this was, well, let's see, who worked on this actually? This was, well, a lot of people worked on the campaign, but it was John Gorman, I think did it originally. If either of them see this and want to confirm or correct me, let me know. I don't know everything. And if I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. The apocryphal story is that the Carl Lewis, who was, the triple threat, sprinter and high jumper, long jumper, all that, they had a board where it was going to be him in midair, against the sky, implying that he was jumping, and there was a great TV commercial like that. And it was a tissue, over a board, and the tissue was just laying over the board, and somehow it got moved out of place. Writer comes in, Jeff, and says, "Hey, I like how he's going off the board there." Art director says, "What do you mean?" Accidental. The idea that when he was leaping, he's leaping off the board, just a bunch of blue sky, implying, this guy is an amazing athlete. He can jump to the moon if he wanted to. What does this go back to? It's worth noting here. What does this go back to? Chiat understood Nike. They understood there is no finish line. The idea that when you become an athlete, you are on a journey of suffering and sacrifice and pain and denial towards a goal. This is a quest story. There's no arriving. It's simply a quest towards something. And Nike, in many ways, is the best brand in the world because they know who they are and they've been consistent over time. John Brown, Wieden and Kennedy, Chiat, Wieden and Kennedy, they know who they are, and the agencies know that too. So, Chiat didn't try to turn them into something they weren't. They took a part of the brand and made it bigger by making it simpler, glorifying everything. Nike athletes, Michael Jordan in midair, an American footballer in midair catching or throwing. It's just absolutely brilliant. And of course, the interesting about the Olympics, because this was smart on Nike's part and Chiat together, they're both brilliant. How many people know who the original shoe sponsor was for the U.S. Olympics in 1984? The official shoe sponsor. Oh, I'm sorry, this isn't live. This is a recorded video. It was Converse. Tell me of any Converse ad from then. Converse had to be boiling mad because Nike took over the city of Los Angeles with billboards and painted billboards and more. Even though they weren't the official sponsor, they looked like it. You catching a theme here? Even when you're a bigger brand than Converse, arguably at that time, you approach it like a challenger brand. You get cocky, you get audacious and bold. So anyway, the campaign that came from that Olympics thing spread, and it was run around the world, especially in the United States. And my favorite, the one that made me actually pull over on the side of the road to stare at this, was the famous photo called The Battle of Atlanta. This one here, that they bought the image from whoever shot it, because it's the end of a race, and you can see the exhaustion. Everyone's spent. And in the mist, because they have them run through like a little mist at the end to cool down, you see people on the ground, states of collapse. And the guy in the foreground, did he win? We don't know. But everyone who runs knows this moment. They're speaking wordlessly to the heart, the very tired heart of a real athlete. Brilliant work. And Chiat epitomized how you can strip away everything unnecessary. like Neil French says, if you just take the 4 elements of an ad and can do your ad with just one of them, it's probably going to be great. And I believe that. Any client that tells me, we've got to have our logo and our tagline and some copy, and no, you don't. Do you know what the essence of your business is? Boil it down to one element. Oh my God. So good. So anyway, the relationship. Of course, Chiat got a lot of great attention and lots of awards for Nike's work, and Nike's happy about that. Wieden and Kennedy probably not as happy about that. Talk about 2 fantastic, worthy agencies. It's like when Chiat was doing the great work for Porsche, and then Fallon got it and didn't change anything. Oh. So obviously, Chiat wanted more and more opportunities. You know how it is when an agency, when you get one assignment, you want to get more. This great ad, this is with copy and the text and a logo and everything. We haven't forgotten why they're called Sweats. This dirty, you can smell this ad. You can smell it. And so again, someone who's been in the locker room and has peeled off their clothes and it sticks to you as you're trying to pull it off because it's just covered in sweat and the cotton grabs your skin and you just it ends up being inside out and you smell it as it comes off of you. Oh, it's terrible. It's that idea that how you take the essence of a brand and simplify it, make it more powerful. So they got into that, and they also introduced, any of you who ever have lusted after a pair of Air Jordans, Chiat launched it first. And the thing they did, this was Gorman and Johns doing it too. Johns and Gorman, sorry to be more corporately correct. They found a truth about the Air Jordans. And the thing was, at that time, the NBA was pretty conservative. And the fact that the Air Jordans with the black and the red, whatever, they said no, shoes had to be white or whatever. But even though it was simply a visual fault, they did the commercial with Michael Jordan stand there all sweaty and going boom with the ball, boom with the ball, boom with the ball, bounce the ball, boom with the ball, bounce the ball, bounce the ball. Camera pans down. And the announcer makes you think it's something else. It says, on September 15th, see, event marketing, you put a date on it back then. Now no one gives a shit if you say a date, but back then it mattered. On September 15th, Nike created a revolutionary new basketball shoe. On October 18th, the NBA threw them out of the game. Boom, boom, the bars covers it. And you just see, fortunately, the NBA can't stop you from wearing them. Air Jordans from Nike. Now notice, they can't stop you from wearing them. You know how brilliant that is? You know how brilliant that is and simple? And the thing is, when you have a product like that, and you start to build the celebrity of Michael Jordan from that, is absolutely historic. Wow. 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 Even Nike Radio. Oh, gosh. We're, building Michael Jordan. See, Chiat worked on building the fame of Michael Jordan with radio. With Mel Sharp, I'm up here in a helicopter high above the court to interview high-flying basketball sensation Michael Jordan. So the point is, with radio and all things, they were building Nike, and they were building Michael Jordan Nike Michael Jordan. Well, the thing is, with all the commercials they did, and they did quite a few, from 1984 until, what was it? It was maybe a 2-year run, maybe a 2-year run where Chiat was doing Nike. And then eventually, right after Apple fired Chiat, so did Nike. And talk about a big hit. Boom, boom. Apple, being famous for Apple, being increasingly famous for Nike, and both of them fire you. You lose the business. You probably know what happened with Apple. It was John Scully, Steve Jobs, then Chiat. Steve Jobs come back, Chiat's back, right? Well, with Nike, as I said earlier, Wieden and Kennedy being in the neighborhood of Nike and Beaverton, and which is just outside of Portland. I've been to Nike's headquarters. It's amazing. We'll talk about that someday. But the point is, Nike had two things going on. In the article in Advertising Age here, they talk about it. They said they were being more focused on product marketing, which is kind of funny because Nike ads rarely, if ever, said, here's our shoe, buy it. Almost never. But the other thing is they were saying, we're doing that instead of image advertising. They were calling Chiat Day's work image advertising. Well, at the beginning, it might have been, but towards the end, it wasn't. It was really, I think, Wieden & Kennedy being a kick-ass agency themselves and right in their neck of the woods that Nike wanted, because Nike appreciated the locality of that. Now, today, you could say global and virtual agencies around the world, but sometimes a person wants another person to be close by. And that's that immediacy. And it was hard for Chiat Day because the account had shrunk a little bit anyway after that. But the main thing is, when you do work like they did, it's not just the value of the billings, it's the value of the attention and being known for doing a certain kind of work. There was something very California, very LA about the work that they did for the Olympics, which stuck. And to this day, and anything Chiat Day ever says, there's something of Nike in there that will show up depending on what you're looking at, because it's a proud time. It's great work, and it's eternally simple work that understands the relationship between a brand and the customer. And when the customer is an athlete or a wannabe athlete, there is no finish line. The original Nike ad, right? That has been in everything Nike has done as a quest brand to this moment. The most recent thing Nike has done, unbroken, you can smell that there is no finish line. In Chiat Day's work, showing the agony of the training and the beauty of the ballet, of the actual production of the work of an athlete, putting it up on a high pedestal of simplicity and elevating it to an art standard that had not been seen in sports marketing. So when you think Michael Jordan, remember Chiat Day. When you think of Air Jordans, think Chiat Day. And when you think, how did Chiat Day get to be Chiat Day? By being Chiat Day on every ad, every day, every night, every weekend, fighting for it all the way. And sometimes when you fight for something simple, it's twice as hard. Then you got to fight 10 times harder. Now, what are your standards? What do you fight for? How do you show how deeply you understand your target audience? Until tomorrow.